What's up, Packer fans? Happy Monday. We have officially made it to NFL Draft Week. I am beyond insanely excited. I am very obviously excited to see what Green Bay is going to do in this draft. They have 10 selections. This is seemingly a massively important draft for Green Bay, both for now as well as the future of this franchise. We know they have a ton of money tied up into players currently on their roster. They've mortgaged a little bit of that future cap space to try to go out and retain the team that is here in Green Bay right now. And by doing so, it really raises the stakes of trying to find cheap, young, talented players via the NFL draft. And that's why, again, this is always such an important week, but it seems even that much more so for Green Bay. And then add on to the fact that, well, Green Bay didn't add any free agents so far this offseason. So this is going to be really their main opportunity to try to improve this team other than the players that are already on the roster and trying to improve those players. This is the only influx of talent that this team is getting, or at least even if they sign maybe one or two more, street type free agent players, this is still their main avenue for improving the team. So today, I know we've done, I know everyone's done a million mock drafts by now, but the last time I did a mock draft simulator, I did 3 different ones, did them kind of quick. I did 3 rounds. Today, I'm going to do one mock draft simulator. I'm going to do 4 rounds. I'm going to do it one time. I'm going to do it the slower version. So we're going to actually be on the clock, look for opportunities to maybe trade up, look for maybe opportunities to trade back. And we're going to try to make this as realistic as possible. If there's somebody on the board, let's say Jamar Chase is on the board at pick 29, I am not going to be selecting that player. Again, as I mentioned the last time we did this, if Jamar Chase is there at 29, it means that there was another Laramie Tunsil type situation, or there was an injury that came up, or a Lael Collins type situation where he was accused of murder like the day before the draft and they didn't know if they were selecting a murderer or not. So I'm going to pretend that that opportunity is not available. And if that player is available, that Green Bay would probably be passing on him as well. But enough about that. Let's get started. Again, it's going to be a 4-round draft. It's going to go pretty slow here. Hopefully you are all able to see my screen just fine and see who the different selections are going to be. So I'm going to be taking a look at what players are still available. Certainly somebody like a Greg Newsome is somebody that's going to be rather interesting to me. So I'm going to pause it here. We're about 11 picks out. We've got, let's see, a Micah Parsons, a Christian Barmore, Greg Newsome left. There's Rashad Bateman. And then you start getting into the point where you're looking to either just select a player or move back. So I'm really keeping an eye. Maybe when we get up to that Colts or Titans type pick, if Greg Newsome is still there, maybe trying to make a selection. But I'm going to resume it here. Elijah Vera Tucker. There goes Newsome at 19. Bateman goes 20. We're going to pause it here. Travis Etienne. So Micah Parsons left. Interesting player. I could see him legitimately falling due to some of the off the field concerns and those sort of things. I don't think it's anything major, but teams do have some concern on him. So it wouldn't shock me if he fell. I'm not going to trade up for him or attempt to trade up for him, but definitely somebody I would continue to monitor if he falls a few more picks. Let's resume things. There goes Cosme. There goes Asai. There goes Collins. So now we're up to pick 26. This has got to be, the Browns need a linebacker. I would assume they're going to go Micah Parsons here. We still have a Tevin Jenkins on the board. We've got a Creed Humphrey on the board, a Kwity Paye, Trayvon Merrick, a few really interesting options here. Terrace Marshall's still there. I'm going to kind of let things ride as we sit right now and see what happens. Marshall goes 26, Parsons 27, Kwity Paye. So we get a few opportunities here. So this is a very interesting deal that comes up right away. So the Rams are offering a 2nd round pick, a 3rd round pick, and a future 2nd round pick, which is a pretty big deal for pick 29 and 256. All right, so let's see what's on the board that I'd be passing up on. All right, so we've got some interesting players. I love Afatu Melifonwu. I think he's more of a 2nd rounder. Trayvon Merrick is super interesting here. I know a lot of people really love him. Tevin Jenkins available. Do I want to move down to pick 57? I like some of the later tackles that could be here, though. I'm not super concerned about missing out on a Jamin Davis or a Creed Humphrey. I'm thinking I'm actually going to take this at a 2nd and a 3rd for basically that 2nd round pick. Pick 256 does not matter at all here. And picking up a future 2nd. You know what? I'm going to see if I can review all those other ones first. Okay, I can. Awesome. So 59.89. So what was that one? 57.88 in a second. Okay, so 60, 98, a second, and a third from the Saints. And remember, the Saints are expected to be pretty bad. I have to throw in 142. I don't mind that. So I'm moving back to the end of round 2. That's a pretty steep fall. But I'm picking up a third round pick this year and a second and third next year. The Saints are expected to be bad. The Saints usually make these type of trades to move up aggressively. Frankly, with the depth of this draft, especially at the corner and offensive tackle positions, I don't think I can pass this up. Getting a future second, a future third, and a second and third this year. I'm going to accept this trade, and we are going to let it ride and see what the heck happens as we move up here. So we're going to start seeing some of these very talented players fall off the board, of course, because that's just how it works. But let's get to about pick 50, and then let's see where we're at and see if there's anything that's tempting to trade up for when we get to that point. So 47, 48, 49. All right, so we're at pick 50. We've got, let's see, Carlos Basham would be interesting to Green Bay, Dylan Redunds, Asante Samuel. You've got Liam Eichenberg still on the board, Elijah Moore. So certainly some talent. I'm pretty good at sticking where I'm at right now. Let's continue and see how things go. Nick Bolton, Joe Tryon, Wyatt Davis, Quinn Meinertz, Elijah Molden, Carlos Basham. All right, now we're at pick 56. We still got Redunds, Asante Samuel, Elijah Moore, Davion Nixon, Liam Eichenberg. Again, I'm going to let things ride here and see how things go. Peyton Turner, Pete Werner, Baron Browning, Dylan Redunds. So move back one pick and pick up pick 174? Okay, I'm cool with that. There's yeah, I think I'm cool with that. Know what? I'm not. I'm going to reject that. And there's a lot of players I love on the board right now. Remember, I'm 2 picks away from my next pick as well. But Asante Samuel's on the board. Liam Eichenberg's on the board. Aaron Robinson, Jalen Mayfield. But listen, if you want to get one of those tackles that I think could potentially come in and play right away and be a long-term value, Liam Eichenberg screams off the page. I know he's got the shorter arms, but I'm going to take a chance on it here at pick 60, plus with all the extra picks that we got. I am going Liam Eichenberg, offensive tackle out of Notre Dame. Certainly fills both a need. I am not going to take that, so I'm going to stick at pick 62. And then my next pick here, listen, I have said for a while now, having potentially Jair Alexander and Asante Samuel both at 5'10 on the outside could cause some problems. I don't care. Listen, Shannon Sullivan's about 5'10 playing slot right now for Green Bay. If you want to just swap those two out and put Samuel in the slot, as Joe Barry mentioned, you cannot have enough slot players in this defense. I know a lot of people think that Asante Samuel is the best slot player in this draft. I think he's an outside corner and you try him there first. Green Bay does not have corners on this team besides Jair Alexander going in to 2022. You have to address this position. He's the best player on the board. I'm going Asante Samuel here. Maybe it's slightly unrealistic that he'd be there, and maybe you said the same thing about Liam Eichenberg. Both of those to me are mid-second round players. If they were to fall 5 or 10 more spots, it wouldn't shock me. So I'm going Asante Samuel Jr. here with pick 62. So we've already picked up Liam Eichenberg, who I think some people wouldn't be shocked with if Green Bay picked in the first round. Or same with Asante Samuel. You get another one in the second round, and we've already picked up an extra second round pick and an extra third round pick from the Saints, who are expected to be not great next season, which could be almost like a late first rounder, late second rounder if the Saints are bad. And we've already been there before, cheering against the Saints, hoping they do bad so the draft picks end up better. All right, we're only 2 picks away now. 91 goes Ben Cleveland, who I actually really love. I'm going to reject that trade. So here we are at pick 92. You've got 2 wide receivers that are on the board that I like. And I think, with already getting a corner, already an offensive tackle, wide receiver makes a ton of sense here. So you've got Amon St. Brown and then Dwayne Eskridge. I am a huge Dwayne Eskridge fan. I actually really love Spencer Brown here as well. But if I'm Green Bay, I think they probably take Amon-Ra St. Brown, I'm going Dwayne Eskridge, just adding a speed element to that offense. They've taken a second round, this is a third round pick, but a second round wide receiver out of Western Michigan in the past, turned out pretty darn well. I'm going to repeat history here. I'm going Dwayne Eskridge. I think he adds kick return value, slot value. I think he can play some on the outside. I think he's a flavor of wide receiver that they don't have right now. So I'm going Eskridge at that spot. And remember, we're only a few picks away from selecting again. So I'm going to reject that deal. I'm going to, let's see, 7 picks left. Let's see who's on the board here. I'm going to reject that deal. I'm going to stick on the board here, but I want to take a look at some of the defensive linemen that are available. It's not great. We probably missed out on our opportunity to address defensive line with any level, any real level of opportunity. Maybe we can take a look at that in the 4th round. Edge rushers the same. Let's see here. Just taking a quick look at what's available. All right. I think what I would do now, Tommy Tremble's interesting, but you just drafted a H-back tight end sort of receiver just a season ago. I'm going to take one last quick look here. All right, so this might be a little bit of an interesting selection, but this is a player that is rising up draft boards. I'm going to go with Divine Diabolo, a safety out of Virginia Tech. I think he fits really well with Green Bay's new defense, so I'm going to bite the bullet there. I know it's a little bit high on this specific board, but most people are expecting him to go towards the end of the 3rd. I'm going to take him there. I'm not going to assume that, based on this board, that he's going to be there in the 4th round. So we're going to go with Diabolo in the 3rd. And then we will see what happens as we get closer to the 4th. I think we only have 1 4th now since I traded that one away. We'll get there in just a second. So some interesting. Marquez Stevenson goes off the board. Ambry Thomas, good corner. Trey Sermon, James Hudson, Amir Smith-Marset. I know a lot of people really like him. Adrian Ely, Keith Taylor, Darden, Patrick Jones, Oso Digizua, who I was probably going to target. All right, so this is our last pick, our 4th round pick here. We didn't get any trade offers, so let's see what we can make happen with this. And I think this is a really easy one to kind of wrap the bow on things. I know we got Eskridge. I know they list Demetric Felton as a wide receiver. But nope, I lied. I'm taking Aaron Banks, the guard out of Notre Dame. We're going to get 2 Notre Dame offensive linemen. You could either go Felton or Aaron Banks here. I really like Aaron Banks. I think he has starting potential at that guard position sooner rather than later. Obviously, you get 2 Notre Dame offensive linemen. I don't care about that in one way, shape, or form. I think Banks can play left guard or right guard. I think he, again, can play right away if you need him to. Green Bay needs some depth along that offensive line. I know they've got, John Runyon Jr. as well as Simon Stepaniak, who have some upside, but I'm not going to pass on Aaron Banks here. I think he's a really nice player to finish things off in the 4th round. And then we'll kind of wrap things up here in just a second with what we were able to accomplish in this draft. Overall, I'm pretty excited. I did not do this ahead of time either, by the way, so this is just pure off the cuff. So we get Liam Eichenberg at pick 60, Asante Samuel at pick 62, Dwayne Eskridge at pick 92, Divine Diablo at 98, and then Aaron Banks at pick 135. We did lose one of those 4th rounders. However, we picked up a 2nd and 3rd rounder from New Orleans in next year's draft in this simulation. Again, ton of fun to do. Probably not within the realm of possibility of what Green Bay actually does in the simulation. But again, I think it's fun to take a look at it as you're on the board, seeing what's available, who's there, what you would do in given situations. We really, for the most part, I really missed on defensive line. I don't think there's any way around that. But picking up 2 offensive linemen really, rebuilds that back up the depth after losing Lane Taylor and Corey Linsley and Rick Wagner. And then, of course, you get Asante Samuel to come in and compete at corner, either at slot or on the outside. You get a wide receiver in Dwayne Eskridge that adds an element to your offense that you don't have right now. You add to that safety room, flexibility. You also are trying to make your special teams better. Dwayne Eskridge, kick returner. Divine Diablo probably is going to be one of your core special teams players immediately. So I think this draft addressed a lot of things. Of course, still have picks in the 5th, 6th, and 7th round. You add to those future selections, which could come in very handy as Green Bay has to make some tough decisions into the future. And overall, I'd have to say, I'm the one doing it, so I would hope that I would like it, but I'd be pretty excited if Green Bay was able to pick up some future picks and end up with a talent pool like we got here. Hope you enjoyed this episode. I'll be right back here tomorrow as we inch closer and closer to NFL Draft Day. Make sure to check out today's audio version of the podcast with myself, Andrew Merteg, and Perry Goldstein. But until next time, and as always, go Pack Go.